What's up, guys? It's Eventon here. So I know the title of the video says I'm going to be covering my fit. It's mostly going to be a review about the whole entire Garista's Hunt event, as well as the Garista Outpost sites. And I actually did quite a bit of the Garista's Master Outposts, not the Master Outposts, but the Master sites as well, the ones that only spawn in like Caldari Lowsec and stuff. I did mostly that content with groups of friends. This one I was able to solo the Huntsman Outpost pretty easily with this fit. So I'm using a Hawk, using T2 rockets, T2 ammo, using a compact Nosferatu in order to regain some of the nuding presence that is within the site. I got a medium, I believe it's an enduring shield repper, which is more than enough repping. And I've realized also with this fit, my EM resist is pretty abysmal. It's at like 8% or so, but just the extra buffer that we have with the small shield extender combined with the medium shield booster, I was really under no threat. I don't think at any point I ever got below 50% shield, and I didn't need to touch my assault damage control at any point. So this is kind of a very nice like AFK activity for me, to be honest, while I'm watching something else or doing something on a different screen. But I will say, like overall, I do like these sites. I do think CCP should probably do more events for smaller size ships when it comes to frigates, destroyers, things like that, and even incorporate it into other content too. So as you guys can tell, I'm speeding up the video because sometimes between these waves, I actually managed to squeeze in like 4 of these sites in one video. And sometimes between these waves, you're waiting anywhere between like 30 to 40 seconds. So I didn't want you guys just to be looking at nothing this whole time. But I would also love to see a bit more depth in these sites rather than going in there, getting swarmed and orbited by the same ships, doing the same E-War and all that stuff. But nonetheless, it was still a pretty fun site. For whatever reason, initially when this came out, the very first week of the Hunt event, there was these Bantams that would show up on grid, but they wouldn't do anything. They would always just sit there about 10, 15, 20 kilometers away, just doing nothing. I'm not sure if this was CCP's attempt at implementing some repping going on in these sites, which I think would have made the site very difficult depending on how strong the repping power of these Bantams were and stuff. But yeah, it just didn't really end up working out. So after a whole week of the event, they actually removed them this last update. I believe it was like Tuesday at midnight, whatever time zone you guys were in. And so they just removed them all together. But strangely enough, I could have sworn they also like nerfed the loot drops, because I did probably about 15 or 20 of these sites before that update, when they removed the Bantam and did some other kind of fixes to the game related to the event. I would say each of the sites I was doing, like every 4th or 5th site, I was usually getting a pretty decent skin, like a Garissa skin, usually for the Raven or any of the other typical ones, the Kestrel, things like that. But ever since that update, I don't think I've gotten a single Garista skin. I've done about 30 of these sites since then. I haven't gotten a single Garista skin. A lot of them tend to be the Huntsman's like quiver skins, which tend to be valued like extremely low. I don't think I've gotten a single one over $1 million. But long story short, like before the update, I was probably getting anywhere between, I'd say like 20 to 50 million, like on average, like per site. Some of them might have been a little bit lower, some were a bit higher. There was a time where I got like the Raven Garissa skin, which obviously is very overpriced right now because it's still taking into consideration like the old price point. Those will go down in value just because there's going to be so many on the market. But since then, like honestly, all I've gotten on average ever since that update has probably been anywhere between 5, maybe 15 million at most on average. I've gotten a couple Gecko skins. I've gotten 3 total. I've gotten 2 before that update and 1 after. So I'm not sure if they've actually changed like the loot tables of these sites. If you guys have kind of experienced the same thing, if you guys have been running a lot of these sites like I have, please let me know down in the comments below. But it definitely seems like that's the case, because I think I've gotten more ISK or more, I would say like better loot in my first 15 sites of the first week than I have in like the last 30 or 40 sites combined in this last week that I've been doing it since the update. So I'm not sure if they changed something or if I've just had really bad luck. I'm not sure whatever that case is, but last week when I was actually doing the Hunt Master sites with a group of friends, I was actually having a lot of fun. I actually tried doing the Hunt Master sites by myself in this fit. This fit can pull it off solo. There might be once or twice you might have to click that assault module to like really save up if you need to, but I didn't really need to use it. But both times I tried it by myself, I just ended up getting ganked. The first time I think it was in the Hawk fit. Another time I tried a different fit. like in a destroyer, and both times I just got ganked in low sec. I was getting locked down. They showed up on grid. They took the acceleration gate. I had usually like 6 ships on me, and they just ended up killing me. So I kind of said I wasn't going to do any low sec sites until I had a group with me, and sure enough we did, and we ended up doing a lot of the sites and so got some pretty good loot. But then again, that was last week's loot. I'm not sure if that has changed at all, but when we did those sites, I would say every 4th site we ended up getting a Gecko blueprint. There was a lot of skins that dropped. Some more of the higher end overseer effects ended up dropping too, so that ended up being pretty good for us. But again, I haven't actually done it since they've done like the most recent update. But doing these boss fights, they were pretty easy. I've noticed that it would only take me about 10 to 12 cycles on my rockets in order to kill it. Right here, it looks like we're getting hit really hard, and to be honest, we are. But we have such a large shield buffer, and even though our EM resistance is really bad, that medium shield booster is doing a lot of work for us, because I mean it's healing us for roughly like 110 HP every 3 seconds. So I've never had an issue, and I've never dropped below 50%. As you can see, each of these sites, I've ran about 4 of these sites. I think each time the loot was anywhere between like 4 to 14 million ISK on average. And I realized some of the loot has actually dropped in value. So some of the items have like dropped, because before they might have been like slightly overvalued, and now the value has dropped because it's been a whole week. But even then, I mean, it should not be cutting, I would say, the overall profit or like the price points by like 75% or so. It seems like it's gone down a lot since then. So I've been using the Hawk. I mainly use the Hawk just because that was the ship I just had the best skills for. Honestly, this was the very first time I ever flew an assault frigate, and I had a ton of fun in it. I really enjoy the Hawk. I love using my missile and rocket skills. I love using shields for the most part, but I have kind of grown an appreciation for using like armor tanks and other types of weapons as well. So I've been using the Vengeance as well, at least when I'm in like Caldari space, because I've been doing it a little bit in like Caldari as well as a little bit in Mars space, just to see if the loot is different, and also just go somewhere that's a little bit less contested as well. I like the Vengeance as well, but I do feel like it's a bit lacking in like DPS. Like you could definitely overtank that thing, and you could probably easily do the Hunt Masters site in a Vengeance, but the DPS won't be, at least in my opinion, won't be as good as the Hawk as what we're doing here on this one. So yeah, so, and ever since the update, I really like the new sites. I mean, just not dealing with the Bantams in general has actually saved a lot of time, and I think both of those times I got ganked was usually because of the Bantam. They're just kind of sitting there, nothing's happening, I'm kind of forced to go chase it. The next wave kind of spawns on me, and now I'm like really far away from the gate and things like that. So also moving in line, like parallel to that gate, like I just did right there, is a really good way if you are kind of competing for a site. If you already kind of have your acceleration going, it's a really good way to get into that last room quicker and beat out that other person. Honestly, with this fit, I think this fit probably pushes about 250 DPS cold. At least that's probably with my skills, but if you overheat, I'm not sure what the damage is overheated, but honestly, every single time I've tried to DPS race someone in this last room and we land roughly about the same time, I end up winning pretty much every single time, especially when I overheat my rockets. So there's been times where I've outdamaged a Kikimora, a Vengeance, and a few other kind of T2 ships, as well as some overpowered destroyers, but I ended up winning every time. So I do suggest this ship. It's just a bit hard to recommend because a lot of the assault frigates, right when this event started, ended up getting scalped and just getting resold in the market for like 50 to 60% more, sometimes even double the price. I remember I was in Jeddah and they were selling Hawks. Like the cheapest one at the time was like 75 million or something like that, which is about 3 times the price, probably like 2.5 times the price of what it usually is. So that was a bit absurd. Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. So this is the last site, and it's kind of interesting how the spawns come in. Sometimes you get mostly frigates, sometimes you get a combination of the destroyers and the cruisers as well. I think probably the most dangerous spawn is either the quad destroyer or the I think I saw one with like 2 destroyers, a single cruiser, as well as a single frigate. Those rooms, in my opinion, are probably the most dangerous when it comes to that. So always make sure you're repping. And I also really like the fact that the Nosferatu ends up doing a lot of work. It really offsets one of the neuters that are people that are knocking you down. And that's another thing I like about this fit, is that it does have a lot of cap recharge between waves as well. So because that medium shield booster is pretty cap hungry, and if you do leave it on for a long period of time, you can really reduce your capacitor. But in the middle of a fight, the Nosferatu kind of offsets it, and then between fights, that's where that cap recharger comes into play, and you're able to recharge it pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, I've been having a lot of success with this fit. I've been enjoying it. I'm going to keep doing the sights. I might do kind of like a more in-depth review of like the whole event at the end, but mainly I just wanted to kind of cover my fit and what's been my experience up to this point so far running these sites, which have been a ton of fun. I really encourage CCP to offer more of this type of content for smaller ships, because, you know, if you look at the Gala event, if you look at the Winter Nexus event, trying to think, there was another event relatively recently that pretty much the only time you could really interact with the event or do anything is you had to fly a battleship, and it had to be relatively blingy in order for you to pull it off. So it's nice to actually have events like this that are for smaller ships. This site has probably claimed a lot of pros, to be honest, just because they're not sure how to fit or anything like that. But these sites are doable if you have the right fits. And I did have a video talking about alpha fits in destroyers, because destroyers are probably a good fit for newer players to run these sites in order to have the most success. So let me know down in the comments below, what's been your guys' experience running these hunt, either the master sites or the hunt outpost sites. Let me know what the loot drops have been, and if you guys feel like that the loot has actually changed from this week since last week, let me know as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys take care. Of course, you end up flying safe.